this one. Okay, you see the screen, you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. We got a bunch of things to talk about other than just the usual thing that actually just changed today, actually, because I thought we would be doing two things. I put this up and I said in August, is it time for 2 peer mentor meetings? And my plan was yes, until about 3 or 4 days ago when COVID was getting worse and worse really fast. So today I called Dave Mosier about the Meridian Trust, and he and I decided that really going for having our first face-to-face meeting at Meridian in August, probably it puts us at risk. I don't know what it's like in Jackson. I haven't been in Jackson in a while, but when I listen to the news, so I've just decided not to have one. I'm sorry about that because I thought that was a real good possibility. A lot of people were interested in a face-to-face meeting, but it looks like we're going to have to wait until September. Okay, Wednesday, August 18th. We're planning on having another picnic. A number of you went to our last one. Cindy, one of the people that's here tonight, is a brand new peer mentor because she happened to be at that meeting and talked to, I don't know if she talked to David or Lauren, but talked a little bit to me and was interested. And I thought it went really well. We had about 25 people. The Teton Photography Club offered the food. It turned out a lot more than we needed. We didn't take a whole lot of pictures because there was lots of smoke, but I thought it was really a good interpersonal interaction, getting to know people kind of a thing. So we've decided, the executive committee's decided to have another picnic. Personally, I think it's something we should do every month in the summertime. But what we have to do is think about where do you think it would be good to have one? We had it at, what was the name of it? David, what's the name of that place we were?
Cascade Canyon.
Pardon?
Cascade Canyon.
And that worked out really well. The road was bad to get there, but it wasn't that far out. And it gave a nice view, but the smoke was terrible. So we need to pick another one. So I'd be glad to share this with the executive committee where you guys think would be the best to have a picnic in August on the 18th. We came up with, I talked with a number of different people, and here's 4 or 5 different places to go and a reason why it would be good or not so good. String Lake would be nice to get to. It's wide open. One of the things we found out for the picnic is you can't have it in a small area. You need a pretty big area, open area, and you need a place to park. String Lake would be good. It's a relatively long drive, particularly for those of us that live on the other side of the mountain, but it has no view of the mountain. So it's got a plus, parking, but a minus, the view. Leaks Marina, I think Rachel was the one that suggested this. That's a long drive, but that could be really good along with one of the beaches along Jackson Lake. Then one of the things we could do is move outside of the park. So if there's people that would have to pay to get into the park, I think most people probably are a member of the park and get in. But maybe we should consider outside of the outside of the park along the Snake River, Schwabacher's Landing. It could be Mormon Row, that kind of thing. One other place would be in Wilson, Owen Bircher Park. Would be good for wildlife, but it really wouldn't be very good for.
There are no wildlife in Owen Bircher Park.
There isn't?
No.
Oh, okay. So
nice little park, but it's not, there's no animals except 2-legged ones.
okay. Okay, well, what do you guys think? Well, give me your ideas about where you'd like to have a park, picnic.
Can I toss another 1 or 2 in there? I'm just wondering, because somebody asked, maybe it was Barney, if there are any places along the Snake River that we wouldn't get eaten by mosquitoes. The answer to that is no, there's no place. But I'm wondering, going down the canyon, and I could go look at this unless somebody knows the answer, whether there's any picnic facilities, for instance, at the Big Kahuna overlook. I think.
Where was that, Sue?
So down Snake River Canyon.
Where is that?
If you go south of Jackson.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, if there is, the river's right there. And I think, for instance, at Big Kahuna, if you're interested, I'm guessing there would be rafts floating down there. That's whitewater.
Okay, I know. I have gone by there on a raft.
Okay.
What's the view like for taking photographs?
Well, you'd probably, your focal point would be the Snake River.
Okay.
So the smoke couldn't ruin that.
Another thing that we might add is our park.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has some water features, and maybe a moose might wander through by accident, but
Charlotte,
park
where's
is
our
that?
park?
Rendezvous. It's right at the intersection of Highway 22 and Highway 390, the Teton Village Road.
Oh, I misunderstood you.
Where the big troll is. They
Yeah.
just put that big troll sculpture in there.
Oh, I haven't seen that
And
yet.
that's pretty easy to get there. I mean, for people coming over the past and, you know,
Yeah.
We
being
have
all the way into
parking?
town. Yeah. and
Yes.
The rest of us,
Yeah,
it's
there's tons of
a short
parking.
trip. What's that?
There's a
There's
lot
tons
of
of parking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a thought.
Okay, any others?
Actually, I think that's a good idea. You know, there might be. I gotta think we have to question how much photographing or photography we're going to get done at one of these things. So,
Particularly if it's still smoky, that's a real problem, yeah.
and a lot of the places we'd want to go to are still just covered up with tourists. So, you know, it makes it a little unpredictable about could we all fit in there? So.
Somebody had mentioned or sent an email or something that talked about that lots of people leave by 5 o'clock. I don't know. I'm not over there very often and late in the afternoon or early evening, but
That was me because if you try to get out of the park between 5 and 7, there's a traffic jam to the Grovemont roundabout.
yeah.
So everyone leaves the park between 5 and 7. But I have not been at String at that time. So I don't know for sure if there'd be spots at String.
Yeah, it's typically super crowded up until, but I don't know when they really leave. So.
And Schwabacher would probably be the best place to take photographs. It's really photogenic, but I don't know where we could set up our picnic there.
Well, and that's, yeah, there's a traffic jam down there
Yeah.
now, whether it's dawn or
Yeah.
evening.
Yeah, I was down there on Monday night and there was literally 6 people at Upper Schwabacher's. People go to lower, but they don't tend to go to upper. But yeah, I would avoid that now. I don't want to fight with other people down there particularly.
And along there, there's lots of mosquitoes.
Yeah, there was like invisible things biting me there on Monday night. I don't even know I couldn't even see them. So that wasn't fun.
Rachel, you're just so sweet.
One of the
Okay,
on the
Rick, go
outer
ahead.
road. What about one of the outer road?
You're really breaking up, Rick.
What about one of the overlooks on the outer road? The Outer Park
Oh.
Road?
Wow, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That's a good one. Because when I think about them, there's a number of them that from the parking lot itself, out to where the drop off is about 50, 60 yards, and we could easily do with that. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Maybe Snake River Overlook potentially too.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Or Blacktail Ponds Overlook. It's off away from the parking lot.
Yeah, that's also a good idea. Not many people go there. Fewer people go there than anywhere else.
Yeah, that's an easy one to get lots of people in there, because there usually aren't very many people that are watching. Okay, let me make a
Yeah.
suggestion here. David we have a number of people that are on the executive committee. I'm going to try to get them to make 3 or 4 ideas that they thought were the best, and maybe we can send it out to the peer mentors and/or everybody on the that's a member of the Teton Photography Club, and get kind of a vote on it, and make that happen in the next week, 10 days, so we can let people know that we'll have it by the 18th of August. How does that fit for you guys?
So
Sounds
let me just throw something in there real quick, Randy.
Okay.
Of the new ideas that we have here, Rendezvous Park and Blacktail, does anybody have a preference? Quick. You can just
No.
text me on the
You can
on the
vote.
chat. Yeah. Or if you got any other ideas, why don't y'all just hit me with a chat real quick so I can have some idea. Oh, and we also, yeah, so Blacktail, Snake River Overlook, or Rendezvous Park were kind of the new ideas, and quite frankly, a couple of those sound better than the other ones we've thought of.
Yeah, I like these. I don't know about Rendezvous Park because I've never been there, I don't think, but yeah, those are good ideas.
The only thing about our park is you may have to reserve it.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah, I know, like Owen Berkshire, you kind of, it's, I don't know who you do it through. It's probably through Parks and Rec, but you may have to actually reserve our park to get that many people in there.
I think our park would be the Jackson Hole Land Trust. Don't they have an interest in our park?
I'm not sure who actually manages our park. It might be Parks and Rec. I don't know if it's the Land Trust or not, but it'd be easy to find out. Just an FYI, it's not a deal breaker, but you may have to, think about it a little bit ahead of time, because it is pretty
That's
popular.
good to know. We don't want to all of a sudden have to change things at the last minute. Okay, send David a message about what your preference is, and we're ready to go. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to have is about a month from now, on August 25th, we'll have a Zoom meeting, same thing, 7 to 8:30. Whoever gets the most votes tonight will pick out what the theme will be. What about a Saturday photo shoot? Would it be worth it for me to try to get in touch with you guys maybe in the next week when I send out information about a morning for a sunrise, breakfast at Dornan's? Rachel, you seem to be out and about for those kinds of things. Is it really tough to get a place at Dornan's on outside, or?
No, I don't go to restaurants right now. I don't want to get Delta. I wouldn't be interested in going to Dornan's. Sorry, there's just too many people there.
Okay.
I drove past there the other day, and there was cars parked along that road almost all the way to the park road. So I'm not interested in going to somewhere where there's lots of people.
What time of the day did you go by there?
Like 6 p.m. 7
Was that
p.m.
by any chance Monday, Rachel, when the Hootenanny is going on?
It was Monday. Yeah.
That's the Hootenanny. That is why there was such a huge crowd on Monday night at 6 o'clock.
That's a good point, Charlotte. Thanks for raising that. Yeah, you're right. It is.
But I think it's fairly crowded always.
When we've had photo shoots in the summer, when you used to have 2 or 3 years ago, we used to have one just about every month. We would go to Dornan's, and let's say if it's a sunrise, we'd be done by 7:30, 8 o'clock. And there really weren't very many people at Dornan's at all back then, but it seems like we have a overflow of people for about everything now. Are very many people interested? If many people aren't all that interested, that makes it easy for me to decide.
I'm not sure they serve breakfast at Dornan's right now. So
Really?
that- yeah, they're understaffed as just like everybody else.
Oh,
So
gee, okay.
I'm not positive on that, but that may be something that you want to check before you just go out there. But you could do a sunrise, I mean, you could do a shoot either way. It's just this time of year, it's hard to get into a restaurant anywhere, Randy.
Yeah, you need
Yeah,
reservations.
I haven't been to a restaurant in 2 years. Okay. All righty, let's move on then. When I send out an information, I'll put a suggestion on a Saturday and see what you guys have to say. Okay, this is going to real quick. I think sooner or later, we're going to be going to Meridian. Dave would really like us to be there, but we got to be careful about COVID. Wednesday, the fourth Wednesday, we'll continue on the Zoom meeting. I'll give you some information about that. Photo shoot, I don't know what's going to happen. All righty, that we've all got that. Okay, quick. For Cindy and anybody else that's new, we have a kind of a set of rules. It's on the Teton Photography Club website about the meetings that we have. You got to give me the information by noon of the day of the meeting. You can use any kind of camera software that you want to. We have articles for the homework. Whoever gets the most votes tonight will send me some articles. Make sure you do your homework. I thought this was a really good theme for the homework. And just so you understand a problem that we had a long time ago that we seem to have solved. If we go back a year and a half, 2 years ago, the photo that won was almost always, well, oh, I really like that, rather than, oh, this is a really good example of macro theme. I'm going to do something a little bit different tonight because I had some people send me more than one photo. I will only accept one photo to be in the voting, but I'm going to use these 3 photos to show you, to get you to start talking about what makes a macro theme photo a good photo, essentially to vote for. So here is, if you look right here, this is a kind of a couple sentences off of one of our articles. Macro photography refers to photographing at high magnification. Technically speaking, a true macro photo creates an image on the camera sensor that's the same size as the scene in real life. So let's talk a little bit about what you've learned from reading the articles, because all you children have done your homework, I'm sure, right? Rachel's smiling. Okay, how did you decide on a macro topic? I think this is a really good question because I've been thinking about this one a lot. What was important? Did you learn about other topics other than flowers? Sorry, Penny, we're not picking on you. As you continued, how did you make the decision about what to focus on? Because there's all the smoke. You had things to look at. What did you decide to look at? Go ahead, Charlotte. See, this is like a class because I can see some faces.
I looked at things in my yard. I just looked around my yard, and I also read up on the capabilities of my macro lens because I really hadn't ever
Used it.
yeah, a whole lot. Yeah. So for me, it was kind of learning how to use the lens. And so I experimented a lot just using the lens. And I think that's what's so good about these assignments. It forces you to do things that you wouldn't ordinarily do, and you learn.
What about the rest of you?
Yeah, I went looking for a specific subject and I couldn't find it. So I just shot what was in front of me and tried to be a bit more creative with something that was pretty banal and ordinary. So I tried to just take a fairly simple subject and then make the most of it with macro, as opposed to what I was originally doing, which was looking for a specific thing that didn't show up. So
Okay.
Not having a macro lens, I went online to say, how do you do macro photos without a macro lens? And it was interesting, there was a whole series of articles on it. Basically, it just said, you take your telephoto lens, put it all the way out, and put your focus on manual, and take your photograph. And it comes something like a macro photograph.
I found that to kind of support what you're saying, Lou, that I had bought some extension tubes. They cost me, I don't know, 50, 60 bucks months ago, maybe a year ago, and hadn't used it very much. And then I realized, oh, wow, in fact, I'd forgotten I had it in when I'm going through a bag. Oh, here it is. And I used that with a 25 to 120 telephoto. And I found that really worked out well. I didn't need to have a macro. It kind of made it into a macro that was a variety of ways to make it work. Anything else?
I actually shot with both a macro and then the lens I always use. I was frankly unimpressed with the macro. I didn't think it did any better than the lens I was using that's a telephoto.
So then you were sorry that you spent that $1,000 on it?
Pretty much, yes. You know, I'm looking at it now and going, why would I take this with me?
Well, wait a minute. So, but the macro should have gotten you a higher magnification. So did you just crop the telephoto?
No, nope.
I use my macro all the time because of what David said. Because it gets you higher magnification, and it's also a great portrait lens if you don't have anything to shoot macro.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, with me, I didn't think in terms of experimenting with both of them, I just didn't think, and obviously maybe I'm doing something wrong, that the macro gave me any more than the other lens I had. In terms of focusing capability, in terms of depth of field I could get out of it, none of it.
Well, your depth of field is going to go away, but it should have given you a higher magnification.
It didn't. Well, at least didn't appear that way to me, but kind of a dummy, so who knows? Sorry.
But to get a higher magnification, doesn't that depend on which long lens you're using?
And how close it'll
long
get.
the lens is?
The most important thing is how close you're allowed to get and still be in focus. That's why I liked the extension tubes, because they could take almost any camera or any lens and get you very close.
Well, okay, but yeah, that's not 100% correct. It's not how close you can get, it's what magnification you get. So back to your comment about a true macro gets you a 1-to-1. So if the inchworm is an inch long, it would extend all the way across your sensor with a true macro lens. You're not ever going to get that on a telephoto, at most maybe half that.
Okay,
But
let's
let's
move on.
not spin into a technical detail, but still, a macro should get you a lot more magnification than you can get with any other lens, or otherwise they wouldn't exist. You might have to get.
When you've got all that magnification, then depth of field becomes a problem.
Absolutely.
You really need a lot of depth of field.
Okay, let's move on to the next question, because I think this was kind of the most important one. What was the most important challenge to you? Exposure, focus, composition, and how did you solve the problem?
Focus, and the problem was solved with stacking.
Ah, okay. Want to tell us a little bit what you did, Arnie?
My two images, you know, I have a 105 millimeter macro lens,
Oh,
and then shooting with it, the depth of field is very, very shallow. And the only way I could get what I wanted in focus was to take multiple images and then merge them together in Photoshop.
Did you find the focusing difficult? How many did you use to build on?
I don't know how many I used. I probably used like 10 or 15, or I shot 10 or 15 and probably used 5 or 10. I'm kind of struggling with what I need to do there.
Oh, okay. Arnie
Yeah, I
isn't
did
here
the
tonight, but
same as.
he said,
Sorry.
called, sent me a text and said he did like 20 or 30 of them on one of his shots.
That's been one of the issues with my computer that we were talking about before the meeting. You know, if I get a bunch of images and shoot them in RAW, what I have here for computing really struggles, and I'm not able to merge a bunch of photos. So I have to kind of be careful how many I do.
Yeah, I've kind of found when you focus stack, I export them as JPEGs and then focus stack them as JPEGs. So I'll do a bunch of processing in Lightroom first and sync them, and then I'll export them as a JPEG and import them into Photoshop as a JPEG, because I have that same problem. My computer's so old, I can't focus stack more than like 3 images. So it doesn't work. And if you export them as a JPEG, I've done up to like 30.
Wow. Oh, really?
Did you use the camera's ability to do the focus pictures, or did you manually focus? And
my 850 has that capability that you can set the focus stacking. Yeah, so I've used that, and
Okay.
I've tried it the other way of just moving it slightly, and that works too.
Okay.
But I have used that capability in the camera, which is kind of nice.
Okay. And Arnie, what did you do?
I have an 850 as well, and on those, well, I don't know which picture we're going to show here, but I took some flower pictures, and
You let the camera make the decisions?
well, I never know. You know, it has a couple options of how many images, and then it has a range, or I don't know what the term is now. How big a change it is per shot, and I really I'm not clear on how to set that up. You know, depending on the lens or how close you are. All those are variables, and I'm struggling with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I had Canon R5, and I struggle with of how to set it up to do it automatically as well. There's a lot of options and that sort of thing, and I'm not clear on what they do and whatever. That's why I was asking if you do in camera.
Lewis and I watched a guy who did macro stuff on the optic workshop for B&H a couple weeks ago. And he also has an 850 and sets the focus stacking. And he recommended that you keep it on the shortest number. I think it's like 1 to 5, or I can't remember. I tried it a few times last month on my 850. But he said keep it on the shortest one and take more photos than you think you're going to need, because then you're sure that you're going to get everything sharp. And this is what he does. He's got a whole studio in his house just for macro stuff.
The other thing he mentioned was because he'll do 70 or 80 images to stack.
Oh my God.
And he says that, yeah, if he gets beyond, I think he said 5 or 10, he doesn't use Photoshop. He goes to, I couldn't tell you which program he talked about, but he said after just a handful that Photoshop doesn't do the job for him.
Okay, I'm curious. It sounded contradictory. He says take fewer photos, but he was stacking 50 or 70.
No, he's saying take the shortest, whatever the lowest number that I haven't used focus stacking, the lowest number you can go. So the increments are the smallest, and then he takes like 70 pictures, and he's taking pictures of water drops in this, literally little drops of water. So he's taking 70 pictures, and there's a very, very obviously fine difference from one image to the next on the focus.
Because you can set both in your focus stacking. You could set how many shots you want to take, and you set how the increment distance between each shot.
Okay.
And
So
then he also said if you set it at 50 shots, and whatever your subject is, where you start it, and then it moves back. if it gets to the end of that object, it just stops taking them. Even if you have it set to 50, it'll go, all right, I've taken 30 and we're way beyond your subject. So the camera knows.
Oh, wow.
I haven't tried that yet though.
Okay, let's move on a little. That's interesting. Let me ask if composition was important, because I've seen all the pictures and I wouldn't have thought it myself, but when I see the 15, 17 pictures that we have, I realize composition is really important in macro. What do you guys think?
Composition is always important.
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing.
But I didn't think of it as big a deal in macro, because I always thought of most of the macro pictures I see, it's, say, sorry, Penny, it's a flower and it's right in the center. And I realized from the articles and some other things that there's a lot of other ways to make it look good, and we'll be able to see them in a few minutes. Okay, let's move on. Were there problems with focusing? We've already kind of talked about that. What did you learn that will improve your future photography?
Take pictures of flowers in the morning with no wind.
Particularly if there's dew on it, but we don't have any of that. We
Yeah,
have
no.
10% humidity. Anything else?
I think that just going through this, and it's a different technique, just helps when, at least for me, when I'm out looking around, to look at the landscape differently. Sometimes it's the broad view, and sometimes it's a very intimate view that a macro a lot of times represents.
I would agree with that. For me, I started looking for that kind of stuff. Like I walk the dog every morning through my yard and I got hundreds, maybe thousands of wildflowers. Now I see them differently than I did before. Okay. I thought I've got a number of pictures, a number of people that sent me 2 pictures. And I thought, I can only do 1 for each for this voting kind of thing. But I thought, oh, well, we got some interesting things that might lead us to talk about macro pictures before we actually start voting. So what do you think about these 2? Which one do you like? Which one do you prefer and why?
Apples and oranges.
Yeah.
What do you mean by apples and oranges?
Well, one has a specific subject and the other's more of a design. I love both of them. They're very cool, but they're different.
One's a
Very
cabbage,
good.
one's an ant.
One's black and white and one's color.
What do you like about the one in color?
Is that an ant? It's an ant.
Yes, something related to an ant.
Oh, it's
Well,
great.
I like the fact that you know what it is.
Okay.
I like to know what I'm looking at.
I also think it's very impressive that that whole bulb of the flower and the bug is in focus.
Yeah. Yes.
That's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
For me, one of the things I like that, but I also like the background, that it was so out of focus, but the green color, it set my eye back to looking at the ants. It's one of those compositions make sense in macro for me. But which one do you look at more? If your eyes kept track by the second of the one on the left and the one on the right, which one do you look the most at?
I'd have to say I look at the one on the left, but I couldn't tell you why. I don't know if it's just more colorful or whatever. I'm actually I'm not sure what the one on the right is, I guess, is my big problem.
I'll tell you in a minute what it is.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised.
So I really like the one on the right. I like abstract images.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looked like a cabbage.
I like the one on the right, really because of the intricacy.
And those funny little face-like things that are looking
Yeah.
at us.
I see a dog face. You shouldn't be surprised at that. Then I see over down here, this little monster guy on the, and then a snake up here. Yeah, I look at that one a lot.
I see an intestine.
What is?
Sorry.
What is one?
Yeah, lower right.
What is the
Ask
one?
you, which one would you hang on a wall?
Okay, we're gonna move on. The one on the right is cabbage.
What is it? What is it?
Oh,
Yeah.
Barney
got
took a picture.
Looks
Barney's
like
really
abstract
being
to
into
me.
taking pictures with his cell phone. He
Yeah.
was helping his wife cut up cabbage and he saw this. He thought it was so cool that he got out his iPhone and took a picture of it. Okay, here's
Wow.
another one.
Obviously a cabbage.
What do you think about this one? What do you like, or what would you change, or is it okay the way it is?
I think I would like to see the 3 in focus, or maybe just one in focus and the others farther out of focus. What do you all think?
Yeah, I'd prefer it if, other than the forwardmost, I don't know if that's a coneflower, if the rest of it was far more out of focus.
Okay.
I think it would be a better picture if it was taken with a little overcast. So there wouldn't be so much contrast.
And shadows on the petals.
Yeah, it needs a reflector in front.
Yeah.
And not to be a picky person, but back to your 1-to-1 is a macro. I have trouble believing that's 1-to-1, but
You know,
Yeah.
in the truest definition, the one that you have one subject. You don't have, in this case, 3 subjects. This is what I would call
Okay, now we've looked at, wait a second. We've looked at these. I couldn't put all 3 on the same one. They would have been some tiny pictures. And this one, think about what you look for in these when we go to the next and start looking at, I think there's 14 pictures and really, really different.
Really.
Okay, Cindy's the only one I think that's new, so I'll tell Cindy how this works, remind the rest of you. What we're gonna have 2 rounds to vote on. The first round, since we have 11 images, each of you get 4 votes. And I'll go through them twice to give you a chance. And then David will tell me which are the top 4. I think it's, usually we try to have as many as I actually got a vote. So it'll be the top 4. Sometimes we have ties, so we may have more than 4 votes in the second round. But what we'll do, Cindy, what we try to do is to give everybody that submitted a picture, a critique of that picture, although we won't know whose picture it is. And what we'll do is give the people after the end of the first round that don't make it to the second round, we'll critique each one of those pictures. Okay, any questions?
And Randy, you might want to say that your votes, you should send them to me. Put a comma. So if you're voting for 1, 5, 7, and 9, send them to David, 1, 5, 7, 9. So, and I'll try to tally them without being dyslexic.
And so everybody knows, make sure you send them just to David, not to everybody.
So on the chat, if you're not familiar with that, down at the bottom of your screen, there should be a chat. You should be able to send them to me.
Yes. Okay. I think okay, yep. Now I go to a new share. Here we are, and I always have problems with this because I can't see what you are seeing. I'll try this. You see everything there?
Yes, everything.
Okay, this is number 1.
You're gonna go through them once and then vote after the second pass?
Yeah, I'll go through them once, then I'll let you see all of them, and then I'll go through them again so you get a second view of them. Okay, this is number 1. This is number 2. This is number 3. This is number 4. This is number 5. This is number 6. This is number 7. This is number 8. This is number 9. This is number 10. This is number 11. This is number 12. This is number 13. This is number 14. I'm going to show you all of them. Oops. Take a look at them. I'm going to show them to you all again in large, as a large picture. Are you getting to see it big? Yes?
Not
No?
yet.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Double click on it.
1. This is 1. Is it a full screen for you?
Yes.
Okay, good. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7.
Randy, we're not seeing the vertical photographs full frame.
I don't know how to change that. Is it,
Columbine was cut off
wait a second.
in the bug.
Andy, I think you have to get rid of the bottom bar, you know, the little arrow that, because you have the bottom bar. strip.
The problem I have. Let me
Yeah.
let's see
Now
what
try it.
happens. Wait
Yeah.
a second.
Did it?
Is that any better?
Yeah.
Uh,
Oops, wait a second. This is number 5. This is number 6. This is number 7. Are you seeing all of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. This is 7. This is number 8. This is number 9. This is number 10. This is number 11. Number 12. Number 13. Number 14. Oh, you can't see. You've got to kind of leave it at this, I suppose. Okay, send your votes, 4 votes to David. How are we doing, David?
Well, give me another minute or so.
Okay.
So what do you want, Randy? The top 3 or top 4? What are we doing?
Top 4, but let me say something before you say anything about this. I wish sometime I'll have to do this. Show a set of 10 or 12 pictures from 2 years ago, or I think we've only used this theme for 2 years. 2 years ago compared to now. You guys have really gotten, and I'm not a great judge of this. I don't ever vote for one thing, but I just have to organize stuff. But there's some really beautiful pictures here that I think are really good examples of macro. And go ahead, David, tell me which numbers of the top 4, 5, whatever it is.
Top 4 are 1, 7,
Wait. Tell me again. Start again at the beginning.
1, 7,
Okay.
8, and 9.
1, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put 2, 1, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, here's what we do we've done this for the last 2 or 3 months, and I think this has been really nice so that everybody gets some feedback here. Let's start with this one. What do you think about this? Whoops, wait a second here. Whoa, why is it? Okay. What do you think about number 2? This is number 2.
One thing I like is that it's vivid, and that whatever that little critter is, I don't know whether it's a ladybug, is a nice contrast.
And it's a true macro shot.
Yep.
And it's pretty much in focus, which is, yeah.
Yeah, there's a clear.
Be improved if you somehow put it upside down so that ladybug was, its back was up on the top of the photo rather than
Yeah, I wonder if the photographer could just turn the photograph around.
Yeah, they
I think
could.
you-
That would,
I think you can do it in
Never know.
Lightroom. I think you can do it in
Sure.
Lightroom.
You absolutely can do it in Lightroom. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a little more comfortable to look at that way.
Looks like he's falling.
Yep.
I like that there's a clear focus on him, and then with the purple that and the little orange things on the end, you see that part of it is out of focus, but not him. And I like the color contrast too. I think that's good.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
And a whole bunch of those little pollen things at the end are in focus. It really helps the image, I think.
Yep, I agree. Anything else?
I would love to see it the way it was position wise, but then slightly on a diagonal.
Like he's climbing up or down?
Yeah, just to make it, because I thought it was hard to see it with it hanging upside down, but this way looks too unnatural to me. And so if it is tipped up,
Agree.
tipped up.
Maybe if
to the
it's a
left.
vertical photograph.
I'm bothered by all of the out of focus fronds on the edges, so I would crop it more.
Oh, that's better.
I still think the eyes are slightly out of focus.
Right here.
Yeah.
Okay. But the thing that really gets me is the contrast of orange and purple, and the whatever those little dots are really sets it off. Okay. What do you think about this one?
Wasn't macro enough for me. Too much flower and not enough bug.
Ah. So do you think in macro you really have to have one focus point that people look at it? Like, would it be better if this was cut off, that you didn't see the center of the flower, that you only focused on the bug? Now, I'm not saying you should, I'm just trying to learn from it.
I'm just wondering, when you're talking about too much flower and not enough bug, the one we were just critiquing was a lot more flower than bug. So I'm trying to figure out what's different about this one.
Well, there are 2 focus points. That's
Right.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, your eye doesn't know, it goes to both of them.
Yeah.
The center of the flower and the bug.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also think it would be a little less distracting if the background was a little more blurred out, like the examples that you showed us, Randy.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a little, I can make out what's in the background as opposed to it being just kind of a blurry color.
And that it's not just green, it's got those pink flowers. It's interesting. I would never have thought of stuff like this without having a discussion with all of you. I like this photograph, but there are things that would make it better. Anything else?
I like the photograph too, but I feel like it's unfortunate that the bug seems to be going out of the photograph. You know.
And the only other thing I would have done if the photographer could have positioned it that way is whatever those pink flowers in the background, if they weren't right behind the bug and the petal of the flower, if they were maybe up higher in the photograph or something like that, so that you only have the greenery behind the bug and that petal.
That bug is probably moving.
Okay. What about this one?
I think that one's just beautiful.
There's an elegance to it, I think.
Good way to describe it, yeah.
Yeah, particularly the detail on the petal on the top of that columbine with those kind of veins in it. But there's just, it's sophisticated looking.
I like that the background is blurred as well.
And it captures the front and the back of the columbine, which is hard to do a lot of times.
Yeah, I hope the photographer will tell us how they did that, because that's amazing to me, is that the whole flower is in focus.
Yeah. Elegant, that's the perfect word for it. I think it is just a very elegant, gorgeous picture.
So
all of the flower is in focus, even the tail on the right-hand side, the stem doesn't take away from it.
So this photograph was taken over towards Greener Lake. Sorry about that. Okay. Was taken towards Greener Lakes, and it is focus stacked, and the wind played a big role in trying to get this. I struggled with this because the wind was blowing back and forth. But it's probably 5 or 6 images. And can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, it's hard to know when you're doing this, whether this is going to work out or whatever. I took a lot of pictures this day. And I really worked on trying to get everything in focus. And if you really look at it, some of it, like I don't know what the anatomy is of these, of the flower, but on the right-hand side there, some of those things sticking out to the right, you know, are not in focus. So I kind of missed it there. But it was difficult to do.
Well, you have enough in focus that it's very successful.
Yeah. I mean, it's in focus, but it also has a very nice soft quality, I think.
Yeah.
Makes it really pretty.
And I think the soft quality comes from a blurry background. The white against it just stands out, jumps off the page.
When you focus that, you know, you can kind of eliminate some of the images, you know, to help isolate the flower, which is what I tried to do here.
Arnie, this qualifies as very picky thing, but you know, to improve the photo, I'd try to get rid of these spider webs or whatever.
Yeah,
right hand side.
Yeah,
I see it. Little bit of on the bottom petal, that little black thing, I'd get rid of that.
Yeah, I always struggle with that.
Very, very picky, but I think it would help you a little bit. My eyes kind of go to those things.
I thought you were just like admiring the detail.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
All right.
Beautiful photo.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Number 5.
Yeah. My take on this when I first saw it, it's like, this is a really interesting, kind of a bold idea of getting the back part in focus and leaving the front out of focus. I thought it was a clever idea.
I also like that there's that contrast with the green leaves and everything else, including the background, are just shades of white and ivory.
It's a high key photograph, isn't it? You know, really light values.
Yeah.
I wish it had a little darker background though, setting it off a bit. I understand, okay, the yellow and the white and the stem, I think that's the stem is the one right down the center, but it would have stood out a little bit more with just a little bit darker background for me.
What kind of bothers me about this photo is the thing in the center, white kind of thing. If
That
that were
stem?
gone, I think it would be more pleasing to me. It would be just a feeling.
It reminded me of an abstract bird taking flight from behind.
Huh.
Yeah.
I really like the light background and the colors in it. I just wish that there was a little more in the photograph that was in focus. If the photographer could have gotten just a little bit more depth of field. I think the colors are wonderful.
Is the photographer here? Could you comment? Did you use focus stacking or not?
They're not the photographers, they're just commenting. It's lovely, but I don't know what I'm looking at, so it's disconcerting.
Sorry, I didn't use focus stacking. I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
And some of us don't use the software to bring about the focus stacking or have a camera that invites it, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have a little workshop on focus stacking.
Yeah. There are
I like
things
it,
that-
Penny, because sorry.
Go ahead.
I like it, Penny, because I like the leading line. Like the stem creates a leading line, which I think is really clever. And I like the way that you've chosen to shoot it from the back, which most people wouldn't. It's really unusual. And the tones and the colors are really neutral. I really like it. I think it's really good.
Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, I just don't like that yellow of the sunflowers with the green. It just looked really cheesy. Once
this
it was
is a sunflower.
Yeah, it's the native ones that are out flowering right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But they're very, very bright yellow and very, very green. And it's very jarring, the two colors together.
Okay.
So who shot this and did they get bitten? That's
yeah. Yeah.
How did you do this without getting attacked by this wasp? Oh my God.
It was easy.
Is that yours, Randy?
Yeah, this I took out on my front deck, and it was on we have an umbrella there, and there was this wasp nest there, and I mean I was taking it with the up close. I mean the lens was within 2 or 3 inches probably of him, but it didn't seem to bother him at all.
You
I
are
took
brave.
out 50 different pictures. There weren't very many that I could get his wings and his body in focus.
I think it's wonderful to see all the parts of this wasp that I've never seen, you know, like the little antenna on top that are orange.
I love everything about this, Randy. It's one of my favorites. I really love it.
But yeah, my only criticism is the wasp just looks like slightly out of focus compared to that red thing in the background.
Well, the red thing, which mean, what red thing in the background, at the top or the
Well, that woven piece on the right, on the other side of the wasp nest, that was like perfectly in focus. So I don't know why but the wasp looks a little blurry to me.
Oh, okay. And the umbrella made it nice because what you see that it's got a texture to it. Well, when it's 3 or 4 feet apart, back behind it, then it just turns red. Really stood him out.
Yeah, I was going to say on that one, I like that the colors and other than the nest there, it's simple, and that really helps, I think, maintain the focus on the wasp.
Those of you other than David, do you think that takes away from it the focus of the wasp? I'm not saying that David's wrong. I just wanted to know if you looked at that, because one of the things that was difficult about this was to get the wasp and his wings both in focus. And this one was probably, of the 30, 40 pictures I took, the closest to them being both in focus.
I think
Yes.
you could crop it even a bit more.
Yeah, because the subject is the wasp, not the nest, really. So you could crop it. But also, I mean, this is a perfect subject for focus stacking if the wasp doesn't move. So you've got time to do that before it like attacks your face. That's up to you.
So
Well-
Randy, I'll ask you a question.
Sure.
Did you have one where the eyes and body were in focus more sharp than this one, but the wings weren't? Yeah, I would be comfortable with the wings being out of focus, but when the eyes aren't, it throws me. I started looking at parts of the nest and other things.
No, I'd have to go back and look at them, but I didn't look so much at the eye. Now I can see what you say, that it's not in super sharp focus, while the back wing is. Because the other ones, the wings, one of the two wings was always blurry. So I kind of overdid it. Yeah, focus stacking would have been good because the nest is deep, much deeper than the wasp was, and it would have been nice if that had been in focus as well. But I've never done any focus stacking, so I wouldn't know how to approach it.
Well, I think with a wasp too, you're not going to be able to focus stack. It's not going to be, the wasp isn't going to stay still long enough for you to focus stack.
No, he ignored me, but he moved around a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you give them some chloroform.
And I wasn't about to try to move him at all. I was kind of with Rachel. I don't know that this wasp would actually sting me. I've seen him now because we go out there for breakfast every morning almost, but he's gone. I knocked down his nest. He's kind of flying around like, where the hell is it? Okay, wait a second. That's one of the finalists. That's one of the finalists. So is that one of the finalists? Okay, this one.
I love that.
It
What is
looks
it?
like it looks like a river, doesn't it?
Looks like a morel mushroom.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's
It's
gotta
a,
be a mushroom.
a really pretty macro design, and the colors are wonderful.
Yeah.
It's kelp.
Oh,
Help.
yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
And we
wow.
were out in California and they had some really nice low tides. So we were out tide pooling and taking pictures of all sorts of funny stuff come up. So yeah, it's just a piece of kelp, and I really got, it's cropped somewhat, but I really got in there, and yeah, I like those designs, and you couldn't tell what it was. I got very abstract with it.
Did you use a macro lens?
Yes, yeah, 105mm macro lens.
I really like photos like this, and learning that macros can be abstract like this, because I keep looking at it and looking at it thinking, what is this? What is this? I mean, it's not so much the beauty as it just draws me in. I like it.
And everything is in focus.
Yes.
The eye just wanders around it and everything's in focus.
So
Was it focused stacked, Louis?
It was not focus stacked, and I can't remember. I was pretty high up. It might be f22 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, no, not focus stacked.
So
Lewis,
just on
did
the-
you put it in black and white at all and see what it looks like? I just would be
I
interested.
think I did, Rachel. Yeah, and I liked it better in color. I played quite a bit with the color and the temperature, I think, on this. It was a nice black and white too, but it spoke to me a little bit more in color.
That's really lovely. I like.
Thank you.
It reminds me of those photos that you see in magazines and places that have been taken from an airplane, someplace on a
Yes.
river.
Yeah.
Looks a lot like that. Good job.
So
Also has kind of an Art Deco look to it, to me.
Yeah.
if anybody remembers, I actually, well, the movie Ghostbusters, where the secretary goes, "Do you have a hobby?" And she goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Yes, I collect spores, mold, and fungus." I actually love
Thank you
small
for sharing
abstract.
that, David.
Well, but I love doing that. I take pictures of stuff like this, and my wife doesn't get it.
I get it.
All right.
Oh,
Oh, the smiling anemone.
yeah.
A happy face on the
That's just
ocean.
flat. Yeah, that's just
Yeah.
flat cool. It just is.
It's alive.
So clear. I mean, the water is so clear. You know, there's water there.
I just love the contrast of colors and just there was so much of it that was in focus, but it still drew me right into all the fringe parts of it. I just really think this was great.
Yeah, I agree. It needs a caption that says "Feed me."
I actually took it because it looked like a heart.
It does look like a heart. Yeah.
But now I see the smiley face, so.
Yeah.
Feed me.
I think it would improve a bit if it was a square shape around it rather than having it the horizontal.
So I have to ask, did you have a underwater housing, or did you just like shoot through a piece of glass, or?
No, I shot through the water. It was low tide, as Lewis said, and this one wasn't too far below the surface. I was shooting pretty slow to keep my ISO down, so that was hard because you know the water's moving a little bit as the tide's coming back in.
Yeah.
And I was shooting at a pretty high aperture to get one shot. I did do some focus stacking shots, but I haven't had time to play with software and figure out how to stack them. So I want to try to do that with this. But this one, I used a reflector, and that's what gave it the pop. The other ones that I took without the reflector, the water looks a little, you get a little bit of reflection from the sky, and it's not quite as crisp, but the reflector made a huge difference.
Oh, that's cool.
Polarizer. You used a polarizer, right?
Thanks.
Did you use a polarizer?
I did have a polarizer on, yes.
It's remarkable that you got to shoot through the water without getting any, I mean, I don't see a reflection at all.
Yeah.
Or a wave or a distortion. That's remarkable.
I really like the movement that this shows, even though it's sharp and that nothing is moving, but I feel like it's moving.
Feed me.
Okay.
I love that one.
Oh,
The
yes.
color and the focus. the
Yes.
softness, and I just really like everything about it.
I
You
thought
can
that-
Likewise.
feel
Likewise.
you can really feel the texture of that flower.
I thought this one was executed wonderfully.
Yeah.
Now the focus on everything is really well done.
And
The
the
depth of
background
field is
shows-
pretty amazing for being up that close.
I also like the simplicity of it. I mean, that background is all out of focus, but it's all one color. So it's a lovely complement to the fuchsias and the softer pinks.
shot
Yeah,
that?
this is mine. So this is focus stacked, and I think it's probably about 15 images focus stacked. And
Wow.
I just manually focused it and then focus stacked it in Photoshop. I didn't use any in-camera focus stacking settings. I actually was using automatic focus and manual focus to make sure I picked up the spot where I wanted to get the focal point. And this is where I got bitten by invisible things while I was shooting this.
So I have a question, and I appreciate that somebody earlier said maybe we should have a little session on focus stacking. I tried a little bit of it, and I just thought, well, are you supposed to go top to bottom, left to right, or all over the place? Or I had no idea what I was doing, and I gave up.
I would think
Generally,
that
Stu, you start closest and you move backwards.
Okay.
Yeah, you move towards infinity.
Yeah, exactly.
But
And-
how much are you moving you're turning that lens? It seemed like you would be turning it less than a millimeter
It's
around.
that's the advantage of being able to do it with the camera being able to do it, but it's not doing anything besides moving your focus. So you can do it manually, as Rachel said. You just have to move it a very, very tiny bit each time.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like millimeters of depth of field. So,
Oh, partial millimeters, I would think.
yeah, in some cases.
I mean, the sharpness of this, Rachel, is amazing. Up in the upper right-hand corner there, looks like a web. I'm sure it's not really a web, but it's sharp as can be.
Stunning.
Yeah, this is well, thank you. This is a macro lens. It's a dedicated macro lens. And yeah, it's the focus stacking that makes it look good. And it's layers in Photoshop. It's not hard to do. It's so simple once you know how to do it. So we should do a quick workshop on it. It wouldn't take very long. There's several types of software. I think, Tim, you might use Helicon or something else, or Z Stacker. I don't know. Anyway.
I don't. I just do the same thing. I process them in Lightroom and then bring them into Photoshop and just focus stack them in Photoshop. So I've kind of processed them ahead of time, and that's why I convert them to JPEGs, because my computer is not good enough to focus stack more than like 3 images otherwise. But all the in-camera focus stacking is doing is just moving the focus on the lens for you. It doesn't
actually
do
see
any
it move.
Yeah, you can actually see it move. So it's not really doing anything you can't do yourself. The only advantage is it does it at the same increment every time. So if I think it was Arnie that was saying, if you set it to 1, the increment's tiny, and it does that exact same increment every time. But it's really hard to do outside. It's impressive that anybody could focus stack a flower outside, because any amount of wind and you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, absolutely. If your subject moves at all, you'll have to throw out that frame or frames. Or
You do it outside, Rachel?
Yeah, this was down at Schwabacker's actually.
Wow.
Oh, I would think you would have wind.
I guess I was lucky. I was kind of in a bit of a gully, and it was a not very windy afternoon.
That's why those insects were biting you. No wind.
That's it, exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna have to move on because we're getting into lots of detail. Good. What do you think about this one? True macro, up close and personal.
Yep.
Is this a copyright Tim Labasi? It looks like a Tim Labasi.
No, that's not me. Sorry.
Oh.
I wish there was just a little bit lighter on the dark area, so I could see some of the detail in the blacks.
Yeah, that's what I think. I really like the red and yellow color, but the center of that flower, the brown, it doesn't show very much, which kind of takes away from it. But the rest of it,
a lot of focus too.
Yes, needs more detail in the center.
but the lines in the flower, right at 8 o'clock in that left corner, the yellow and red, the lines in that I think are really nice.
Yeah, that's mine, and I totally agree about the focus. I sure tried to get it. you can see at the top it's in focus, but it's just when you use extension tubes, it's really hard to get.
Yeah, the depth of field on macros are just ridiculous. I mean, and it was
Less
just
than a
one
millimeter.
It was less. It was one shot, right, Gigi?
It was one shot. Yep.
Yeah, they're really hard to do with one shot. I mean, that kind of depth of field, unless you have lights and reflectors.
Yeah.
Would it be better if the exposure on the center of the flower was lightened up, or would it just make it more blurry, that you'd notice that it was blurry? Because I keep staring at this and thinking, oh, if it was a little bit lighter.
I did have one where the center was lighter, and I actually thought that was the one that I submitted. So maybe I just submitted the wrong one.
Well, if I keep staring at this, I can still see, I can see the yellow from behind it coming through. Okay, I'm going to move on because we are almost at 8:30 and we haven't even talked about the top 4 yet. Is this a goat's beard?
Looks like salsify.
Oh,
That's what
maybe.
yeah, it is.
I think I'd like to see more focus in the actual flower and less in the background. The background's a little bit distracting to me. So I think that would make it better because I love the composition of it.
Yeah, I think for me, you could have cropped out even the edges of the flower and just gone right into the center of that flower and gotten rid of the background entirely.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
I think
you
that
don't.
was a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea.
So make it a square, even though it's a circle.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't have to see the edges of it. It's the center that's really interesting. Okay, I'm going to move us along because, hold on a second here. I'm going to take you guys out of here.
Randy, can I make a comment first?
Sure.
Because this photograph really designates my frustration with this process. So if I had a session on macro before I went out to shoot, I would have had a lot less frustration. My shooting is always, it's infrequent and it's always kind of spontaneous, and having to do something specific is hard for me. So I would wonder if sometime we could take an area that we were going to go out and shoot and skip a session and do a training program. So I would love to know about stacking before I went out and got frustrated. Because now I'm more frustrated because I don't know anything about stacking. So just a comment.
I think there would be times that we could make the photo, going out on a photo shoot together, that would be the theme of it. But I don't know how we could. I mean, we once upon a time, many years ago, we talked about doing that at the art association when we had that the room that we had that, well, not we, that the art association had, what's his name, Moose, working at on a Saturday, but it never worked out that way. But there's a possibility of it, but I don't know how it would work. But I think I'd like to learn about photo photo stacking as well. Yeah.
Me too.
Okay, wait a second. Okay, make this 2. Here's. Okay, guys, I can make these bigger, I think. Hang on. Okay, here's the 4 we've got now. You've got 1 vote. And you'll send it to David. No, I think. Okay.
And Randy, it's 1, 2,
Wait,
3, 4.
Wait a second. What, David?
Okay.
Charlotte?
We got to make sure that you're calling them 1, 2, and 3, not by the original numbers.
Oh, yes. Thank you for catching that. See, this is a 1, this is a 2, this is a 3, this is a 4. So it's a different number from the first time. Okay, is that a full screen?
Yep.
Okay, this is number 1. This is number 2. This is number 3. This is number 4. I'll show you all 4 of them, and I'll show them to you again. Remember, you get only 1 vote this time around. I think there's 15 of us that are here. 1. 2. 3. 4. Okay, everybody, you got 1 vote. This is going to be a tough one, I think. Send it in to David. These are so different.
Has everybody voted? Are there anybody hasn't voted? Now's your chance. All right, you ready?
Ready, 4th place. Are there any ties?
We have a tie for 4th place.
Or is that a tie for 3rd place?
Well, it's a tie for 3rd place.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. So number 2 and number 4.
This is 2 and 4. Okay, why don't we go from and say what's 2nd place and 3rd place, and then we'll give feedback to everybody.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you meant by that.
Okay, oftentimes we'll talk about each one of them, but let's wait to talk about each one of them until after we get what's
Okay.
2nd place and what's 1st place.
All right. 2nd place is number 1. 1st place is number 3.
Okay. Wow. Okay, let's talk about number one.
I thought it was perfectly executed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually,
Yeah.
It's
The
I
black
actually like,
everything's
background,
in
great.
focus. It's and the
Yeah.
light is perfect.
yeah, and I actually like the fact that they didn't try and fit the whole flower in there.
Yeah.
I feel the same way.
Good competition.
And the black,
composition with that center in the lower left hand, but not completely off, and that it's set off against black background.
And it's all in focus.
Yep. And I don't, this is Barney's picture. He's not here. He's got a meeting tonight or something. I can't remember what it is, but he said this is focus stacked, and
Oh.
I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's like 20 photos stacked together or something like that.
yeah, it's a
Anything
very-
that should be changed about this? I can't think anything that I'd want to change.
No.
No, and I even love that combination of the yellow and the black.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
And that the yellow on the left hand
subliminally-
side is right,
Yeah.
but it goes black, goes more and more towards the black. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what about this one?
I love that one. We love everything about it.
I love this one too, because I've tried to shoot these guys and they are really, really hard. So to get it all in focus is amazing with that green background. It's beautiful.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. The degree of difficulty on this is like 100% billion. Like they don't sit still, these things. It's really hard to get. It's a really great shot.
Degree of accuracy, it sounds like you're watching the gymnastics. And
Yeah. The degree of difficulty is real high.
yes, it is the color against the green. It's almost like it's not real, like it's.
Who shot this?
That's
Charlotte.
my photograph, and I was out trying to photograph flowers, and this damselfly came and sat down, so it wasn't moving. It held still for me to fumble around with a macro lens that I wasn't familiar with, and I think I got it all in focus.
You
Yeah.
nailed it, Charlotte. It's awesome.
Yeah. Were you on a tripod?
Handheld.
I was going to say you almost had to be handheld. I can't believe he would sit there if you were moving a tripod around.
No,
Or she
I
would.
had a pretty fast shutter speed. I think I was hand holding.
It is he or she, is it bigger, this picture bigger than that insect actually is?
Well, I can't say how big it is on your screen, but let's see. If that were a slide, he was bigger than that.
Did you
If
crop
that
it?
were a 35 millimeter slide.
Did you crop it? Charlotte, did you crop
I'm
it?
trying to remember, David.
I
Yeah,
didn't know.
you know, I may have cropped it a little bit. Yes.
Because they're not really very big, that's for sure. So.
No.
Evidently, the difference between a dragonfly and a damselfly is that the damselfly lands with the wings parallel to the abdomen, and the dragonfly has the wings outstretched. So
Yeah.
this is a blue damselfly.
And I have a question. Are these also called darning needles?
I don't know.
I think they are.
Okay, because I've called them that and I'm not
Yeah.
sure, right?
Is that a Texas thing?
Probably.
The color
bird
match
critters.
too, the blue against the green, and then she's going to where it's black. It's, yeah. It almost looks like it's fake. I mean,
Yeah,
the stripes on his abdomen and stuff, that's amazing.
I think they're beautiful. So, all right.
Yeah.
Next picture.
Okay, what about this one?
This looks like, I'm a color junkie, but I love this photograph, this black and white photograph. The lighting is so gorgeous and the way the lines move around it. I think this is fantastic.
Yeah. This may be a flashback to the 60s, but I was waiting for it to start singing.
This photo is magazine. This photo is magazine worthy.
I love this photo, and it doesn't quite qualify to me as macro.
This magazine worthy.
I
Well,
love
think
these
it's not
texture.
macro. I would assume that these are tiny mushrooms. Well, I suppose they could be huge, but it doesn't seem like that.
Yeah, they look like Enokis to me, which are pretty darn small. But I just like the texture and everything more than anything else.
Yeah.
Gorgeous in the light.
Who shot it?
I did.
Sue.
And I made myself a liar. This is one I shot with the 90mm macro. Those are very small mushrooms. And this was done actually with natural lighting.
Wow.
I don't have a studio, so I just set up in front of a south window.
It almost looks like a painting to me.
Yes.
Black and white painting. It's because it's all in focus. I mean, the one in the lower right-hand corner, maybe a little bit off, but not much. But the others,
Well, even the ones that are out of focus are okay because
they're in the background.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
in the background far enough. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
that
you
portrait.
wouldn't want to
trick.
focus stack this one. Yeah.
It's gonna,
Can you talk a little bit about your post-processing and converting it to black and white and all?
What is it? Wow, I don't even know how to answer that. What is it that would help you?
I mean, it's not only a stunning composition, but it's a stunning black and white treatment as well. So that's why I was kind of saying, did you do it all in Lightroom, or did you do some plugins, or?
I did some plugins. So this is slightly cropped. And I took it into Nick, the Silver Effects. Let me think here. I think when I had the colored version, I pulled it into DxO's Vivisa because you can darken the borders. So that's what gives it that fade kind of at the edges. And then took it into Silver Effects.
So where did you find these mushrooms if you shot them inside?
I went to the supermarket.
Really?
Yeah, there are these boxes of gourmet mushrooms, and there was one that had a variety in there. So these are called brown clamshells. And so I bought a little box that had the brown clamshells, the white clamshells, and then I think some small, what are they called? Royal trumpets or something. And these just had, to me, kind of the most fascinating. I didn't arrange them. I just sort of pulled them out, put them on a black background so that I could get them to stand up. And that's the way they actually appeared in the package.
Wow. That's pretty amazing, Sue.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
Whew.
No, well done. Excellent picture.
Very, very well done.
Yeah.
And this is the fourth one.
I love that one. I couldn't figure out how that was done, but I love the fact that each one of those drops, they're not holograms, but they reflect some part of the background.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating.
I'm assuming this is due on a spider web or something, whoever shot it.
Becky's
Yeah.
still here?
Yes, I am. It was, yeah, it was dew droplets on a spider web lying very close to the ground on some grasses and some other just ground cover at a friend's house. And I was amazed when I developed the film. See all the reflections, like Sue said, of the what was underneath them, only kind of.
Yeah, they're making like a lens.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of reminded me of marbles.
I think the
I would
water
assume
drops
that
were
you couldn't
magnified.
see when you
below.
took the picture, you didn't realize that it had that in the inside of each of these bubbles, you could see something else.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't tell. And I wasn't even sure, and I wasn't aiming to get pictures of the actual spider web net, you know, I just was really just trying to get the bubbles, or the water droplets, and it was just sort of came out that way.
I think it's both, yeah, fascinating and it's playful.
Yeah, playful. That's a good word to describe it. One thing I would have done was crop the lower left hand, that yellow line, and made it a little bit smaller. So some of these ones that had the really clear reflection, because up at the top, upper left-hand corner, they aren't as sharp as they are down in the middle and even in the right-hand side.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. I had a little bit of a trouble finding a patch in these photos where I didn't have those distractions and that all of the droplets were in focus, but I was using a friend's very old macro lens, and I was having just a heck of a time, as it sounds like a lot of people did, with depth of field and trying to get more in focus. So I guess I'm glad I'm not alone in that struggle, but yeah, it was kind of hard to find a patch where I could get more in focus without those stems and twigs.
The green ones, I think, are fine because they're reflected in the bubbles. But the one that's yellow, a couple of them on the left-hand side are a little distracting, at least for me.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah, and I was referring, yeah, more to those stems rather than the grass.
Okay, so first place is Sue. Barney is second place. And then we have a tie for third. And that means, Sue, you get to choose. Oh, let's see, a new share. You get to choose what are, I don't think we have time for, hold on a second. What did we look? Well, let's take a couple minutes to talk about, what did you learn about macro from this?
I want to learn how to photo stack.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I've always thought of it as intimidating, and maybe we can, maybe some of you out there in photo stacking world can make it easy for us.
My general observation is that this thing was the major issue through things, you know, not just focus stacking, but getting something in focus at all even was an issue.
Anything else, guys?
Well, I certainly learned from everything we were looking tonight, is that when I started out, I felt kind of limited. And in looking what people have done and over the month, as I was trying to experiment with other things, that it's not at all limiting. It's just a fascinating way of looking at practically everything. It's not just
everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah,
I feel the same thing. And it was really nice to have, when there's all this smoke every place, that landscape photographs, okay, you can get some, it looks like haze, but the macro stuff is always there. Anything else? Okay, Sue, here you go.
Uh-oh. Okay. So I'm taking advice from anybody and everybody, assuming that probably landscapes are going to be pretty ugly and smoky.
Yep, I think so.
Yeah.
It's a pretty safe bet.
Other
A
than
lot of
smoke,
things.
fog, steam, and
But
smoke.
Yeah, there's a theme of smoke.
Sorry, I
Or
asked.
cloudy sky.
Yeah. Dang. It's between, so the red ones we can't do, right?
Right,
Those are
the
the
red
ones.
ones are ones we've already done.
Man, I'm going back and forth between textures and minimalism. Can we take a vote? Please.
Textures and minimalism.
Yeah, minimalism is number 9.
Yep.
Anybody have strong feelings one way or another?
Oh, no, you don't get off that easy.
No.
that was rude.
Good point.
Well, I'll put something in. The textures and patterns are not, for me, I can see them at this point of time, aren't that far removed from macro, because oftentimes macros are textures and patterns. And the minimalism, actually, you can probably take, with all this damn smoke, you can probably take some minimalism photographs because the smoke wipes out everything else. So I'm not helping you pick one.
Yeah, you just did. Minimalism it is.
Okay, because the only time we've done that is a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't remember ever doing it.
Yeah, I don't
Me
either.
neither.
Okay, here we go. Oh shoot, wait a second.
I hope you find some good references because I have no idea what that means.
Well, no, we're going to be helping you out. Sue is going to be helping you out.
You're gonna have to unshare your screen.
Okay, here we go. Unshare it?
Well, okay, no, never mind. You were still, I think, in Lightroom. But you're okay now.
Okay, so this is it. Minimalism. And I am, Cindy, since this is your first one, you will find something in, if you have Facebook tomorrow or Friday, there'll be something with the 4 winning pictures. We'll have it there. We'll also have it in the Teton Photography peer mentor scene. And Sue will be sending me some articles about minimalism that I'll try to get up by probably sometime this weekend.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Guys, yeah, I am just amazed at how much we as a group have improved in 2 years. The pictures this time were just really good pictures, I thought, and the feedback that was given. I think, Cindy, since you're new to this, one of the things that I think that really makes the peer mentor group work is because we're really honest and helpful in terms of the feedback that's given to all the photographers. And tonight was a really good example of that. So guys, thanks so much for showing up and talking. And Sue, Barney, Becky, Charlotte, damn good. Really nice photos. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you so much.
Take care. Nighty night.
Well,
Osmosis amoebas.